So I recently watched all of Konosuba, so like the first 2 seasons and the movie, and I've just started watching the Megumin spin-off. Before I started watching the show, first of all, my boyfriend had recommended it to me, but also someone else had recommended it to me because I liked Sailor Moon. I'm not kidding when I tell you that someone told me I would like Konosuba because I like Sailor Moon. I told my boyfriend that and he was like, that's weird because like Konosuba is an isekai and Sailor Moon's a shoujo magical girl anime. Very different genres. And so I went into the show, looking out for things that were similar to Sailor Moon. And of course, you have the magic of the world, but quickly my favorite character became Aqua, the useless goddess. And when I realized that she was the character I liked the most, I realized why people told me that because I liked Sailor Moon, I would like Konosuba. I am very confident in saying that I fully believe that Aqua and Usagi are like basically the same character. And I want to talk a little bit about that because I really looked into this and I'm telling you they are so similar. Like Aqua is essentially just an entitled, forever childish version of Usagi. Like if Usagi was super entitled and never matured throughout the series of Sailor Moon, she would just be Aqua. But there's a lot more to that, so we're going to talk a little bit about why I think Usagi, Tsukino, and Aqua are essentially the same person. Hello, Editing Angel here. So I did not clarify when I talk about Usagi and I talk about Sailor Moon, I am only talking about her 90s anime portrayal. So when I talk about Sailor Moon, I am talking about Usagi Tsukino from Sailor Moon Classic because she is pretty different between the different adaptations. I'm saying that Usagi from Sailor Moon Classic severely parallels Aqua from Konosuba. Now, I do think that Usagi in general as a character, even in Crystal and the manga, parallels to Aqua, but I do think this is far more present in Classic, and I don't think I'd be drawing as many parallels from Crystal or the manga. Okay, that's all. Continue enjoying the rest of the video. So first, let's talk a little bit about these characters. So who is Aqua? Aqua is the goddess of water who judged humans to send them to the RPG world up until Kazuma Sato dragged her along with him after she mocked him for his death, and he retaliated by taking her out of her goddess realm. She is energetic and simple-minded and loves receiving reverence for her status and gets upset very, very easily. Like, she gets upset and cries so often, there are just compilations of Aqua crying. In this RPG world, she becomes an archpriest, though she remains very powerful due to her still being a goddess. She is extremely powerful against demons and the undead and is able to resurrect recently deceased people as well as purify water supplies. However, rather than learning any kind of skill that would benefit her party, she spends most of her skill points learning party tricks and proves to be quite whiny and entitled. Now let's talk a little bit about Usagi Tsukino. Usagi Tsukino is a carefree schoolgirl with an enormous capacity for love that transforms into the heroine, Sailor Moon. At the beginning of the series, she's portrayed as an immature crybaby who absolutely hates having to fight, runs from every fight she possibly can. However, over the course of the series, you come to know her as a sweet and selfless girl. Usagi, especially in the beginning, can act a bit selfishly. She's very, very lazy, clumsy, and also an extreme academic underachiever. She's also not great at cooking. She can't really do a lot of things that are like just regular life skills, but she does care very, very deeply for her friends and family, and that is made extremely evident throughout the series. Usagi is extremely trusting and believes that everyone has a good nature, even the people that she's like fighting against. She doesn't believe in killing the innocent even when they've been transformed into vicious monsters and is always seeking ways to help people. Throughout the series, Usagi matures a lot, and even though she's still prone to some childish behavior and bouts of silliness, she becomes a very, very capable young woman, even becoming the queen of Crystal Tokyo. So let's talk a little bit about the ways in which these two characters are similar that I could really put together in a list. First of all, they both have godlike powers. Now, of course, we know Aqua's godlike powers. Aqua is a goddess. She's worshipped by a church in the RPG world she ends up in. She's able to resurrect people. She can communicate with the goddess realm. She can purify water supplies. She's able to purify spirits. But when we look at Usagi, you might take a minute to really realize what I mean by she has godlike powers. First of all, Sailor Moon is the Messiah. Like, she is stated to be the Messiah in Sailor Moon S. She saves the world from the silence. And further, Sailor Moon has the silver crystal. Now, the silver crystal can only be used by her, and it contains an insane amount of power. I think that this one example should be enough to explain why I say she has godlike powers because of the silver crystal. So, she becomes Neo Queen Serenity, right? She becomes the queen of all of Earth, essentially. How she does that is at some point, Earth begins to face another ice age, and she uses the silver crystal to save the planet from that. And that is when people recognize her as the new queen. She quite literally saved the world from the ice age. She has godlike powers. Next up, they are both huge crybabies. This doesn't require as much explanation. Again, there are just compilations online of Aqua crying, and she cries over everything. Now, Aqua will fake crying more often. Usagi never fakes really being upset about anything. But Aqua will fake crying when Kazuma says something to her to get sympathy from Megumin and Darkness, specifically Darkness. But she is genuinely very sensitive and she does cry. She can be very, very insecure. It's really easy to hurt her feelings and she does scare quite easily. She's not very brave. And Usagi is similar. She's always crying. She's always upset about something. She's very, very sensitive to insults or criticism. Another part of this that I see as a parallel is the relationship that Usagi has with Rei tends to parallel the relationship Aqua has with Kazuma. They both have very, very antagonistic relationships, but they also care about each other a lot. And I think that is a super cool thing. Now, I don't think Kazuma Sato is just like Sailor Mars. I just think that the dynamic between Sailor Mars and Sailor Moon and the dynamic between Kazuma and Aqua are parallel to each other, very, very similar. Third, they're both extremely clumsy. I mean, Aqua, she was in that dungeon in season 2 with Kazuma, and she can see just as well in the dark as she can in the daylight, and she was still tripping over everything and falling. Sailor Moon is just always tripping, falling, not very graceful or coordinated in battle, in life, in anything. They're not exactly graceful ladies. Fourth, this is more like 3 things in one, but they're both very high-spirited, cheerful, and carefree characters. When you see Aqua just kind of at her best, she really is just this sweet, loving, carefree, go with the flow kind of girl, She likes to learn party tricks because she thinks they're fun. She likes to drink because she thinks it's fun. She likes to go out and do fun things with her party. Usagi's the same way. She would rather eat or go shopping or read manga or watch anime than study or do anything really all that productive. They're both very, very bubbly and seem like joyous people to be around when they're not in stressful situations. Fifth, they're both very bubble-headed and very unintelligent. I would actually say that Aqua has lower intelligence than Usagi. Well, Usagi's not the sharpest crayon in the box. I would say she is a little bit smarter than Aqua. A lot of Usagi's lack of intelligence comes from her laziness, but she still isn't the cleverest in battle. She doesn't always make the best plans. She's really not the strategist of the team, and neither is Aqua. They're both very oblivious, they're very bubble-headed, they're not really always thinking. And I mean, that doesn't mean that they don't have the best of intentions. I think one of my favorite things that Aqua does that just truly shows her bubble-headedness is when Kazuma's in jail, she brings him a stool and a shaver thingy so he can shave the bars of that window, and she stays there all night waiting for him because she's like, I'm gonna get you a stool, and she's trying to get the stool in and she cannot get it through the the bars. And I mean, she really meant well. She really did. She just forgot a crucial detail that kind of ruined the whole plan. I can't think of a specific example with Sailor Moon, but I mean, if you know anything about Sailor Moon, you know that this is pretty true. Usagi is just very, very bubble-headed. Sixth, they're both pretty unaware of how great their powers truly are. Now with Aqua, I mean, she is pretty entitled. She does boast a lot about what she can do, but she forgets she's a goddess pretty frequently. And she does these amazing things with no thought to them, as though they're just normal. Things like removing a death curse from Darkness. At one point, she's at Darkness's mansion and she claps her hands and fish come to her, and Kazuma just stares in awe. Usagi's powers are so strong. Again, she saves the world from an ice age using the silver crystal, but she's constantly questioning whether she's strong enough, whether she can do it. Neither of them really realizes just how powerful they are and how capable they are. 7th, both of them have a very, very deep love for those they're close to. Now, the people in Konosuba are all like assholes. They all kind of suck. They're written to suck. They're not written to be extremely likable. But like you can tell they care about each other, especially that Aqua really, really, really cares about Kazuma. She is constantly resurrecting him. She cries for him when she thinks he's going to die. When it comes down to it, she is there for her party and there for her friends, and she does love them. I mean, in the end of the story, spoiler alert if you don't know how Konosuba ends, this is from the light novels. I only know this because I Googled it. She cries when she resurrects Kazuma because Kazuma's dead, and she's like, our adventure is over. And at first she doesn't think she can take him back to that world, but like she cries when she doesn't think she's going to be able to see him again, when she realizes that she can't go back. And Usagi, I think in every episode of Sailor Moon, we see just how much she loves her friends. I mean, she quite literally does everything for them. They all do everything for each other. The power of love and friendship is essentially what gets them through everything in Sailor Moon Classic. And their 8th and last similarity is that their biggest strength comes in their healing powers and their loving natures. With Aqua, this is a lot more noticeable and this is a lot more obvious. As an archpriest, her job is to heal. She does a lot of resurrecting people. She lists death curses. She gives peaceful passings to spirits that are trapped here. Literally all she can do is heal, and she's very, very kind and loving, especially when we talk about the episode where her and Kazuma are in that evil sorcerer's dungeon, I think. And, you know, she's going around and making sure that all the spirits that are trapped here get to move on and get to pass on to the afterlife. She even gives that archwizard, that evil archwizard, a very peaceful death with his beloved. And Sailor Moon, I mean, she quite literally has an attack called Moon Healing Escalation. Anytime that she can, she is healing people and not killing them. I mean, I immediately think to season 5, where she refuses to kill humans who've had their star seeds removed and who've turned into monsters, but she also refuses to kill Sailor Galaxia. I mean, she quite literally says something along the lines of, I love this planet and I love everyone on it, and that includes you. I mean, she heals Galaxia. She also heals Nehelenia. She does a lot of offering redemption for people that she's fighting in the show. All right, now let's talk a little bit about the ways in which Aqua and Usagi are very, very different. First off, Aqua has an extremely inflated ego, whereas Usagi is pretty down to earth. Now, this doesn't need a whole lot of explanation. Aqua is constantly proclaiming, I am a goddess, and talking about how people should worship her. She's very, very arrogant throughout the show. Usagi doesn't really do that. Like, she knows how powerful she is, but she doesn't really rub it in people's faces. Secondly, Usagi is overall better in battle than Aqua. Aqua is like constantly running from battle. And while Usagi does that occasionally, especially in the beginning of the show, she eventually learns how to face her fears and fight any monster she comes across. While Aqua would rather support from a distance. Which leads into number 3. Overall, Aqua's a way bigger coward than Usagi. Will not go into battle at all, no matter whose life depends on it. Won't fight monsters if she's scared that they're gonna hurt her. And Usagi will jump right in front of you to save you. Don't need more explanation than that. 4th difference is that Aqua is far more willing to kill the undead in her world, no matter their innocence, whereas Usagi is far more forgiving and understanding. Now, the best way I know how to explain this is there's Wiz, the Lich, and she is one of the sweetest characters in Konosuba, and Aqua despises her solely because she's undead, solely because Liches are technically undead. I mean, she tries to purify Wiz multiple times, which would kill her. And yeah, they develop a better relationship as the series goes on, but still, Aqua holds a lot of contempt towards the undead, even the ones that are completely harmless. Usagi, however, is constantly trying to heal any monster that was once human, any human that is hurting her or doing wrong. Again, she heals Galaxia. Galaxia killed everyone she cared about. She forgives Nehelenia. She forgives Demand in his last moments, Saphir, Ale, and on. I mean, there's just a lot more forgiveness and understanding for the evil characters in Usagi's perspective than there is coming from Aqua's. Their fifth difference is that Usagi does develop and mature as a character and Aqua doesn't really. Like, Aqua pretty stagnantly stays entitled, bratty, whiny, childish. Whereas Usagi does mature, she does get a lot better, her childish tendencies do lessen, she does begin to try harder. Again, she's a huge coward in the beginning of the series regarding like battle, and then by the end of it, she's running headfirst on the front lines. And the sixth and final difference is that Aqua is not boy crazy and actually does seem to have no interest in romance, whereas Usagi is very boy crazy and does have a love interest. She has Mamoru. Now, the boy craziness of the girls in Sailor Moon is like a huge part of the show. They make it a joke all the time that even though Usagi is dating Mamoru, she's still super boy crazy. And like, Aqua doesn't seem to really care about love, whereas Usagi is driven by her love for Mamoru, and her love for Mamoru means everything to her. So those are all my thoughts. That is why I think that Aqua and Sailor Moon are the same person. But what do you think? Do you love them? Do you hate them? Do you think that they're more similar than it might have appeared at first? I love both of these shows, and I can definitely see why I was told that because I like Sailor Moon, I would like Konosuba, considering how similar I perceive Aqua to be to Usagi and how prevalent Aqua is in the series. All right, stay safe, stay smart, work hard. Bye.